Sarah turned into an appreciative gaze, able to survive in bizarre events, and can also think calmly. You are quite extraordinary. The Investigation Bureau is a special department dedicated to dealing with ghosts. It is the official organization of spirit masters. We have two things to do today. One is to investigate the relevant information of the White Willow Academy mysterious realm. The other is to determine if you are qualified to join the Investigation Bureau. Although there are various types of spirit masters in society, only we have absolute information. We also have the resources needed for spirit master advancement. First, talk about the first thing. All the information you know about the White Willow Academy mysterious realm. Hugh did not answer, but slowly got up. Before answering your questions, I have a few questions that need to be answered by you. Sarah's expression darkened. She exuded a terrifying aura all over her body. She seemed like a wild beast about to burst. Now it is me asking you questions. Please give me an honest answer. Brian hurriedly intervened. Stay calm, stay calm. At this moment, Hugh sensed it. Sarah should be a spirit master, while the assistant is just an ordinary person. It seems like the pairing of a spirit master and an ordinary person. Is this the setup of the Investigation Bureau? Spirit master spirituality being contaminated by ghosts. Their personalities will become extremely irritable and extreme. Pairing them with a mentally stable person can also play a supervisory and restraining role. Sarah was startled at the words. She seemed to have touched a sore spot. The fire inside her grew stronger. Hush. Are you looking for trouble? Brian quickly held her back. Don't provoke her anymore. Just ask your questions quickly. Hugh calmly stretched out a finger. The first question. What exactly is a ghost? This question is also mostly about what most people want to know from the living. What is a ghost? Where do they come from? What is their purpose? The preliminary definition given by the Investigation Bureau is a distorted entity of spirituality that comes with its own source of contamination. The manifestations of ghosts vary. Some are spiritual entities. Some of them have flesh and blood, while others are merely a conceptual construct. The only thing they have in common is their intense desire for human spirituality. They strengthen themselves by devouring humans. And ghosts appear suddenly without any pattern. Each ghost is like a source of radioactive contamination, constantly radiating ghost energy to the surroundings. Ghost energy will infect spirituality, continuously triggering negative emotions in people, making them irritable and twisted. The power of the spirit master is spirituality, a product triggered by the contamination and stimulation from ghosts. Hugh then asked the second question, how are the powers of the spirit master divided? At this point, Sarah was already impatient. And Brian was slightly surprised. It seems that Hugh has some knowledge about the spirit master. He then took out pen and paper to explain. The power levels of spirit masters are divided based on how much of their spirituality they have awakened. My wife saw so many divisions, and couldn't help but lick her lips. We refer to it as first stage spirit master. Their abilities will undergo a qualitative change. 41% to 60% is the third stage, and so on, followed by the fourth stage and the fifth stage. But those materials are all classified. The higher the rank, the harder it is to enlighten spirituality. The number of people is also fewer. Hugh couldn't help but be curious. What will happen after it reaches 100% enlightenment? Brian shook his head. As far as I know, there is no one who has reached 100% enlightenment. Because lighting up more spirituality requires a more powerful ghost. And it requires constantly experiencing breaking through life and death. The spirit master and the ghost are in opposition yet complement each other. Only the stronger the ghost can create a stronger spirit master. And the current ghost strength is not sufficient to spawn two strong spirit masters. Hugh gestured that he was about to ask the third question. And Sarah, who was embarrassed and angry, finally couldn't sit still. I don't have time to listen to your boring questions. Brian, send him the website address of the Global Ghost Forum. Let him look up this basic information himself. Sarah instructed. This dark web is not regulated by the Investigation Bureau. It is advisable not to trust emails from strangers. Please tell us all the information about White Willow Academy Mysterious Realm now. You will bear the consequences if you dare to deceive us. I have one last question. Can you see my wife behind me? As soon as these words were spoken, the wife looked at Hugh with love, while Sarah stood stunned in place. She scolded Hugh. Are you crazy? Just because in her view, there was nothing behind Hugh. Even the usually polite Brian couldn't help it. What are you talking about? You, a single dog, do you have a wife yourself? At this moment, the wife cheered joyfully. Honey, you can see me, right? Hugh whispered softly. Are you really unable to see, or are you pretending not to see on purpose? At this moment, the two of them only felt that Hugh was very abnormal. Because ordinary people have just broken through to a new spirit master level, their state is usually unstable. However, he is unusually calm now. They seriously suspect that Hugh has mental problems. Moreover, it is very serious, with hallucinations appearing. Sarah couldn't hold back and finally exploded. Hugh, are you playing us? Hugh looked at her in enraged expression. He felt she didn't seem to be pretending. But he still had a trick up his sleeve. Immediately, he turned around to look behind him. Darling, I saw you. Just at that moment, Sarah, who was originally angry, she suddenly felt an extremely terrifying pressure, only to see the space to the right of Hugh suddenly distorted. The violent energy continues to gather and compress. A pair of jade feet appear out of nowhere in the originally empty space. A beauty in a white silk nightdress suddenly appears. Honey, can you see me? Then the wife let out a gnashing laugh. What a delicious spirit master. Sarah and the two of them were shocked and turned pale. They stood up all at once. Damn, what is this thing? Only to see his wife's cherry-like mouth split to the roots of her ears. Her teeth turned into a serrated shape. In the blink of an eye, she transformed into a ferocious and terrifying figure, emitting a suppressed and manic joy. I haven't had Spirit Master in a long time. I really miss it. At this point, Brian was already scared out of his wits. Sarah was also filled with fear and anxiety. Only Hugh became excited and manic. Didn't see that coming, right? My wife is actually a ghost. I didn't think you guys didn't know either. Sarah quickly spread out her palm and conjured a purple exotic flame. Two high-temperature flames distorted the space around them. She headed straight towards Hugh and slammed into the old lady behind him. But the terrifying exotic flame was like hitting an iceberg. It didn't cause any harm to the old lady. Sarah's face was full of disbelief. What? It remained unscathed. She realized this was a terrifying presence that she couldn't handle on her own. She pulled Brian and turned to run. But how could the wife resist the delicious food in front of her? She just raised her small hand and gently waved it. The two fleeing individuals felt their necks, as if they had been grazed by something. In an instant, their bodies separated. Their heads fell heavily to the ground. Hugh quickly rushed up upon seeing the situation. He hastily unbuttoned Sarah's top, revealing a pair of proud mountains and valleys. Then he looked into the depths of her thighs. There was a pink little fox. At this time, his wife's voice came from behind. Husband, what do you want to do? While it's hot? The man was only focused on the forearm. So, the wife immediately turned into his mouse, along with the man's quick clicking and rubbing. The wife suddenly blushed. Please, be gentler. Be gentler, woo. It turns out that Sarah, who had just become a senior spirit master, was defeated in one move by his wife. Hugh quickly rushed up to carefully observe the depths of her thighs. He pulled open her top and fumbled around. It's not because he wanted to take advantage. It was because he wanted to gather more useful information. At this moment, the wife suddenly had a massive bleeding. Hugh lost consciousness again. After the rebirth, the rollback point did not go back to the mental hospital. Instead, it went back to when he was at home, using a surgical knife to probe his wife. It seems that this is a new node. Hugh was secretly pleased. Now that he knew about the existence of the Investigation Bureau, he must make good use of it. They will come to investigate at your doorstep tomorrow at 8:45 in the morning. It's time for the precognitive ability to appear in front of the world. Hugh, who came home, ignores his wife. He opened the computer and searched for information about ghosts. Enter the Global Forum website address that Brian gave him. Opening the website reveals a terrifying skull. What's even stranger is that the layout is similar to some small websites, with sections for Europe and America, Asia, and Japan and Korea. Hugh became interested immediately. He clicked on the domestic section he liked. There are many more categories below. Ghost Spirit Master Bounty. He quickly clicked to search and browse the information. At that moment, his wife suddenly turned into Hugh's mouse. Let him continue to touch her. Wife seemed to reach some kind of climax. Hugh ignored and continued to browse various posts, although the information may not be complete. But at least this is much faster than exploring randomly on your own. Suddenly, a title originated from a ghost appeared in front of him. He clicked on it immediately. A $1 million payment box popped up. He, who only had a few $100 from head to toe, simply looked down on it. He then looked at other posts. Cheap ones cost $1,000 or $2,000. Sensitive information easily costs tens of millions. Is this the world of Spirit Master? 2.5 hours later, Hugh finally found the information officially released by the Investigation Bureau. With official verification and valuable content, Hugh was completely immersed in it. He spent the whole night reading the post. Got a preliminary understanding of the basic information about ghosts and spirit masters. The level of ghosts is categorized according to the degree of threat, ranked from highest to lowest as SABCD. Some ghosts may not be individually strong, but they pose a significant threat. For example, there was a ghost overseas codenamed Plague. Its strength is so weak that even a first-stage spirit master can kill it. But it can spread a plague on a large scale, causing millions of deaths. Therefore, it is rated as an A-level ghost. S-level ghosts possess the ability to destroy a country within a short period of time. They belong to the nation-destroying level. The higher the level of danger posed by a ghost, the fewer of them there are. The origin of ghosts is unclear and cannot be verified. Some say they appear out of thin air and follow no pattern. Only Hugh knows. Ghosts have always been around humans. Under normal circumstances, they cannot be seen. Once triggered by a certain condition, they will materialize and enter reality. After reading posts all night, he didn't find anyone mentioning being able to see ghosts everywhere. Free posts don't really have much information. I still need to get stronger to make money. Only then can I obtain more useful information from the forum. His biggest gain is seeing a lot of information about ghost artifacts. The shapes of ghost artifacts vary, but they all carry the power of ghosts. They have various incredible functions. Without a doubt, the surgical knife is indeed a ghost artifact. Having cut through countless ghosts, it has long been contaminated. The forum also explains the method of controlling ghost artifacts. If you want to unleash their full power, then you need to use spirituality to infiltrate the core of the ghost artifact. Establish a connection with it. However, using the ghost artifact also comes with significant risks. Its contaminating nature can directly affect the depths of spirituality. This will greatly exacerbate the risk of losing emotional control. Hugh looked at the time. There were still over 3 hours before the Investigation Bureau's visit. During this time, he needs to tame the scalpel. He then started to drive spirituality, continuously delving deeper into the scalpel. His consciousness seemed to enter into a darkness. Inside, there exists countless raging and howling consciousness, like ferocious beasts, fiercely assaulting Hugh's consciousness. Numerous violent killings and despair, along with negative emotions, surged into his body, trying to distort his spirituality into a monster. However, Hugh's spirituality had long been distorted by the dozens of killings. It had become even darker than the negative emotions of a surgeon's scalpel. Hugh chuckled coldly. Is this level of despair the only thing left? He then drove all his spirituality into the scalpel, breaking through the deep negative energy. He successfully left his own mark inside the scalpel, instantly establishing a connection between the two sides. At the same time, Hugh suddenly discovered that his spirituality had been strengthened. It is already lit up by 2%. The scalpel can not only be used as a weapon to attack, and it has two other abilities. One is the basic cutting ability. The more spirituality injected, the stronger the cutting power. The other is to mobilize the contained ghost power to strengthen itself. However, this power is too violent. My current physical condition cannot withstand it. The first priority is to strengthen the body. Later, Hugh came to the kitchen to have breakfast. While he was eating, Dennis called. Hugh said calmly, I know what my ability is. Don't envy it. It's just the ability to know, he added. Dennis was stunned. Ah, how did you know? Could Hugh predict the future? I wanted to pretend with you, he continued. Hugh hung up without explaining, and there was nothing urgent, so he hung up. I have 2 more guests coming later, he said before hanging up and continuing to have breakfast. At the same time, the headphones of the person listening from a distance suddenly dropped. Brian broke into a cold sweat and couldn't recover for a long time. Sarah immediately frowned. What are you doing? Brian said urgently. I heard about Hugh and Dennis' abilities. Sarah was slightly curious. What ability made you so agitated? Tell me about it. Dennis' ability is sexual ability. Her face instantly darkened. It's quite shocking, Brian said solemnly. The key is Hugh's ability. He can predict the future. Sarah was surprised. Predict the future? Brian continued. And he just said on the phone that 2 guests will be coming over shortly. Sarah was suddenly shocked. 2 guests? Could it be that he meant us? Is there really an ability to predict the future in this world? Even if there is, it should not appear on a first-stage spirit master. Hugh has a very narrow social circle. Nobody usually visits him. So it's highly likely that when he says, yes, he means us. As a newly advanced spirit master, he should only be able to predict events that will happen in the near future. Sarah opened the door and got out of the car. Instead of speculating here, it's better to go and meet her. I want to see for myself whether this ability to foresee the future is true or false. Soon, the 2 arrived at Hugh's doorstep. They saw that his front door was slightly ajar. Sarah went straight up and pushed the door open. The scene before her suddenly surprised her. At this moment, Hugh was calmly making tea, and wisps of white smoke were rising faintly from the teacup. Obviously, the tea had just been brewed. Hugh calmly said, Please have a seat. Upon hearing this, the look of shock on the 2 people deepened. However, they still walked over slowly. How did you know we were coming? Hugh took a sip of tea lightly. Because my eyes can see the future. The man simply asked, Can you see my wife behind me? He was scolded and told, You don't even have a girlfriend. Do you have any grounds to talk about having a wife? But in the next moment, his wife instantly transformed into a terrifying and ghastly ghost. She swallowed the man's head in one gulp. After being reborn, Hugh swore to kill all ghosts. He even boasted that his eyes could see the future. After hearing him say that with his own mouth, Sarah was greatly shocked. But she still did not dispel the doubts in her heart. How do you prove that you can see the future? Hugh remained calm. You are all people from the Investigation Bureau. This time coming over, there are 2 purposes. One is to investigate the matter of the White Willow Academy's mysterious realm. Second is to investigate me and Dennis. See if we are eligible to enter the Investigation Bureau. Brian looked serious. This does not prove that you can predict the future. If you had known about the Investigation Bureau in advance, our purpose for coming would be easy to guess. Hugh sneered. He looked at Brian with ill intentions. What's wrong, Hugh? My reasoning is reasonable. You have been secretly in love with Sarah all along and have already written a love letter. Brian was surprised to hear this. His face turned red instantly. Sarah was puzzled. A love letter? Hugh continued. The love letter is placed in the left side pocket of your jacket. Brian quickly covered the pocket. He didn't expect the other party to know even this. Sarah looked at Brian. Is there really a love letter? Brian looked like a child who had done something wrong. He stammered and unconsciously trembled. The content of the love letter is, when you read this letter, I may have already died. Sarah leaned in closer. Pull it out and take a look. Brian, who was close to the goddess, panicked. Hugh is talking nonsense. I didn't. Really not. But she took a letter out of his pocket. Sarah examined it carefully. The shock in her heart grew stronger because the content was exactly what Hugh had said. But she didn't pay too much attention to the content of the love letter. Even if you know the love letter, it doesn't mean you can predict the future. Because it's not written by the future, but by the past. In the face of questioning, Hugh continued. Your ability is purple exotic flame with measurements of 85-63-80. Sarah frowned slightly. My abilities are not a secret. If you guess my measurements correctly, it only shows that you are a pervert. Brian silently recited in his heart. He quickly wrote down this string of numbers. The other party still didn't believe it. Hugh asked, Do you have a secret that no one knows about? Do you want me to say it out loud? Brian instantly became interested. His ears perked up. Sarah confidently said, Go ahead. I have no secrets that I can't share. You have an extreme pink fetish. Your underwear is all pink with patterns on them. Even a pink little fox tattooed on a certain part of your body. Just as the words fell, there was a sudden roar. Sarah looked at Hugh with jealousy and anger. This is not foresight at all. It's clearly an ability to see through things. You and that Dennis are in cahoots. Both so despicable and shameless. Faced with the anger of the advanced spirit master, Hugh remained calm. Knowing the future does not mean knowing everything about the future at will. I just foresaw last night that you were coming. It only cost spirituality to see the future where Brian was reading a letter late at night, along with the image of you tidying up the closet. Sarah retreated from the flames. There was some shyness hidden in her anger. She felt like Hugh saw more than just that. After all, the little fox is tattooed deep on her thigh. What you said doesn't count as real fortune-telling. What are tonight's lottery numbers? Hugh randomly took the pen and paper. He wrote down a series of numbers. He plans to write down some random numbers first. Then he will return to the saved state after the lottery results are out. In the meantime, he will collect more information. Hugh is so confident. Since you can predict the future, why not buy a lottery ticket and get rich by yourself? Have you heard of the butterfly effect? So don't try to use the power of the investigation bureau to change numbers. You better say what is true. If I find out the lottery didn't win, you know the consequences. Hugh even more confidently said, If it doesn't win, I can stake my life. Sarah felt that Hugh was too casual. She felt like she was being played. She immediately got up in anger. Brian quickly tried to calm her down. Let's talk about our experiences at the mysterious realm in White Willow Academy with Hugh. Hugh took a sip of tea and began to recall the matter of the ghost. The mysterious realm appeared suddenly. It was there before we knew it. Everyone is unable to escape from inside the mental hospital. Hugh then briefly described what happened in the mysterious realm. However, he did not reveal too much. After all, the newly promoted first stage spirit master has limited abilities. Of course, he also concealed the matter of the surgical knife to avoid unnecessary trouble. Because spiritual power is limited. So I only used precognitive ability once when I came to a fork in the road. I saw two different scenes. One side showed me and Dennis safely passing through the passage and successfully escaping after encountering the dream-controlling ghost. The other side led to many hospital rooms, with a terrifying aura as if revealing an abyss. Dennis and I would be hunted and dismembered by a female ghost physician. So I speculate that there are dozens of ghosts in the mental hospital. Brian was stunned. Are you sure there are dozens of ghosts? Sarah just smiled. Hugh, do you know what you're talking about? Dozens of ghosts have never appeared globally. In a mysterious realm. Because the mysterious realm is based on the existence of ghosts, there may be phenomena of misplacement or fusion. However, it is difficult for ghosts to coexist peacefully. What you see are just a group of ghost slaves controlled by ghosts. Although their numbers are large, their power is not strong. I see you are scared out of your wits by the mysterious realm. Moreover, you don't really understand what ghosts are. That's why you mistakenly took ghost slaves as ghosts. Hugh does not want to explain to her. It's difficult for you to understand my words at your level. Just report to your leader. Weakness and ignorance are not barriers to survival. Arrogance is. Sarah is furious again. Brian quickly tried to placate her. Thanks to Hugh for being honest. However, the ability to foresee the future is too incredible. So please accompany us back to the investigation bureau. As soon as the words fell, Hugh stood up directly. He went straight to the door. Let's go then. 2.5 hours later. Hugh was taken to a remote and quiet place. Many ghosts were also wandering around the investigation bureau. Hugh was certain that only he could see the ghosts all over the street. The three people arrived at a simple and crude doorway. Please follow me. He looked towards the passageway leading deeper inside. It exuded endless mystique. Hugh was secretly delighted. Bureau of Investigating Bizarre Events. I hope you won't disappoint me. This is a lie detector worth 250 million. Even a professional fraudster cannot escape its test. Because it is a test that connects to people's spirituality. As long as there is a trace of inconsistency between words and heart, it will be discovered. But it turns the newly promoted Hugh into a righteous person. A person so righteous has never appeared in the history of spirit masters. Hugh from the Investigation Bureau followed the two people down the corridor. I didn't expect that the main body of the Investigation Bureau is underground. And the crude gate is just a camouflage. Hugh was taken to the lounge to wait. Sarah and the other person went to report to the director. After they all left, Hugh releases his spirituality, sensing his surroundings. With the enhancement of the scalpel, his range of perception has also expanded. He is able to clearly perceive the internal situation of the Investigation Bureau. He can even see the movements of Brian and the others in the distance. Unexpectedly, the next second, Sarah suddenly turned back with a serious expression, feeling as if she was being spied on. But she didn't find anything. What's wrong? Sarah let down her guard. It's nothing. Hugh quickly withdrew spirituality. I didn't expect her to be quite sensitive. In the office of the director, Brian and the other person are reporting. The director asked incredulously, Are you sure his ability is to predict the future? This ability is of great importance. Whether it's true or not, it is temporarily classified as confidential. No information must be leaked. Brian then passed a note with lottery numbers written on it. Jose said solemnly, Guessing the numbers is nothing special. Maybe he has already tampered with it in advance. Find 2 trustworthy people to supervise the entire process of tonight's prize draw. I want to see how capable Hugh is. At this moment, Jose looks at Sarah. You are also considered a senior spirit master. Do you think he is lying? If what he said is false, then he must be a highly skilled liar with strong psychological qualities. It's too easy to be exposed if he predicts the future. He has no reason to deceive us. But personally, I think he is lying. Why do you think so? Jose choked and drank water through his nostrils. We'll find out whether it's true or false tonight. By the way, he also mentioned that there are dozens of ghosts at the mental hospital. Mentioning this, Sarah couldn't help but raise a mocking smile. In my opinion, White Willow Academy only has 2 ghosts. One is the ghost of a female physician. I suggest codenaming it Ghost Physician. The pattern is to kill people nearby and only one person at a time. From the description, the classification is at D level. The other one is a ghost that controls dreams. It is suggested to codename it Dream. The rule is to force people nearby into dreams and trigger various fears leading to murder. Considering its uniqueness, it is suggested to classify it as C level. And White Willow Academy is a fixed, mysterious realm with hardly anyone around. In conclusion, its recommended hazard level is C. Jose asked solemnly, "How terrifying is the nightmare's dream?" Sarah continued, "Even someone like Dennis, who is timid and lecherous, can dispel fear with a short film. It proves that dreams are not that intimidating after all. If its ability is prevented in advance, the level of harm is not even as severe as that of Ghost Doctor." Jose nodded. He still believed in Sarah's judgment. "Ask you to come over and have a chat." Sarah was surprised. This doesn't seem right. What if he poses a risk of being out of control? For safety reasons, it's better to let the captain see him. Jose shook his head. Both the captain and the vice captain are not at the bureau. They just went to investigate the whereabouts of the person codenamed Ghost. Sarah was surprised. They actually went on a mission together? Somewhere in LT City at the moment. The two are competing in a chase. It is the captain of the investigation bureau, Joseph, and the vice captain, Bruce, who are competing to see who can solve the ghost first. Joseph just rushed into the car and set off. Bruce immediately jumped onto the car roof handsomely and followed closely. In the lounge, Sarah took out a professional spirituality lie detector. She conducted a spirituality contamination test on Hugh. Different from ordinary lie detectors, this one will detect lies based on the fluctuations of the subject's spirituality. As long as there are inconsistencies between what the person says and what they feel, it will react. So you should answer truthfully. Hugh nodded and placed his hand on the lie detector. Go ahead, ask your question. First question. If a ghost is currently on a killing spree, what would you choose? Option 1 is to fight the ghost. Option 2 is to escape alone. Option 3 is to save as many people as possible and run together. Hugh didn't hesitate at all. I choose to fight the ghost. Sarah looked at the lie detector. There was no lie. She was slightly surprised. She had never imagined that Hugh would be someone who could sacrifice his life for others. But what she didn't know was that Hugh has the ability to rewind death. Even if he can't defeat the ghost, he will keep fighting. By dying multiple times, he can always find its weakness and kill it. The second question. If an intelligent ghost invites you to join, and it promises to give you powerful strength, as well as unimaginable authority and status, would you join? Hugh firmly replied that he would not. Sarah was surprised. Really not? What if your family joined the ghost and invited you to join them? Hugh calmly replied, I have no family. What about friends? From what I know, you have a good relationship with Dennis. He is your only friend. Hugh firmly said, I don't mind not having friends. Sarah then asked a few more questions. But the lie detector remained calm and showed no response. Final question. What is the first thing you want to do after becoming a spirit master? Hugh remains determined. My goal is to kill all ghosts. Sarah was suddenly stunned. Is it a lie? She has tested many newly promoted spirit masters. Because the spirituality of spirit masters has been contaminated by ghosts. The dark side of human nature is amplified infinitely. If you can't beat them, join them. I like ghosts the most. What? Ghosts are on a killing spree. Then I will join in the killing. Let's see who can kill faster and more. Most of them are abnormally selfish. Except for not like you, in order to kill all ghosts. The team of spirit masters unexpectedly appeared. An angel who empathizes with the suffering of the world. What a remarkable person. Sarah couldn't help but feel ashamed. Compared to her, I feel like a mere ant in the corner. However, Hugh's thoughts are not only to kill all the ghosts, but also to cruelly torture his beloved wife. She must feel 1,000 times more pain than what I've experienced. I cannot let my wife die easily. Then the two of them arrived at the office of the chief. Sarah handed the test report to Jose. He passed the test. Jose introduced himself. I am Jose, the director of LT's City Investigation Bureau. Please have a seat. Hugh had already taken a seat unexpectedly. He nodded. Hello. Jose looked at the report. His eyes widened suddenly. He looked at the test results in disbelief. He quickly took out his reading glasses from his pocket. He looked back and forth repeatedly. This report is too perfect. Even a normal person could not be this perfect. Jose suppressed the shock in his heart. Speaking only of this report, Hugh is really perfect, even without the ability to predict the future. I want to invite you to join the investigation bureau directly. Hugh let go. No rush. Let's talk after the draw. Because what he wants is the value of foresight. Negotiate the appropriate price and resources with the investigation bureau. Does your precognitive ability have any limitations such as the time span or frequency? Hugh pretended to be profound and said, I shuttle between the future and the past, witnessing countless deaths and rebirths. The future, for me, is just a puppet that can be observed and rewritten at will. The two people were startled. As the two people were chatting casually, the office door suddenly swung open. Jose frowned. I've said it many times. Don't be so impatient. The director is in trouble. The vice captain, he's dead. Jose suddenly stood up. His face was full of shock. Bruce is the strongest combat force in LT City. How could he? Hugh looked at everyone with confusion. It's a pity that the strongest combat force has died. But this could be useful for me.